how did your journey into content creation begin? What inspired you to pursue this?
So my ex-boyfriend, he used to play a lot of games, and I didn't want to be like one of these stereotypical nags who's like, get off the games and attention me. I wanted to actually enjoy time with him. So I'm a gamer as well. I just was mainly on console. So I played games with him, and I dropped the boyfriend, kept the game, basically, and carried on playing for many years after that. I really enjoyed it because I was really socially isolated, but because of my condition. And when I was on Overwatch, I could use push to talk to prevent people from hearing my texts. And I could just communicate with people, make friends with them, have fun with them without them ever knowing about my condition. And that was life changing for me because a lot of people either misjudge my condition or define me by it, and it can be really awkward. And I sidestepped a lot of judgment and a lot of misunderstandings, and I felt really confident. And I loved how loads of people wanted to be friends with me, but it got a bit out of hand because this was my only social avenue. So I was really friendly with people, and everyone wanted to play with me. I maxed out my Blizzard friends list, which was 200 people, and they all messaged me whenever I came online, and I didn't have enough space for everyone, and I felt really bad. So I made a stream so that people could see when I had a gap in my group and join me. And that way people didn't have to go, are you free yet? Are you free yet? They could just check in stream.
Your
And
social calendar was outrageously full. How long did it take you to accrue that amount of people who are interested in joining you playing games?
let's see, I can open my Blizzard account and see how old it is because like it wasn't very long. I think this was going on for like 2 or 3 months before I made my account on Steam, on Twitch. Um, So it was not very long. I ended up just with a lot of friends. I think a lot of people on like Overwatch are. This might be a bit of a stereotype, but there are a lot of guys, and a lot of them would get overexcited about being able to talk to a girl. Um, so I'd get endless friend requests, endless. And so this was like my management technique for just like reducing DMs, having fun, not having to stop every 5 minutes to message people. They could just look in. Um, but yeah, like I'm pretty sure it was about 5 months old, my Blizzard account, because I made a new one. I lost my old one. And that's when I started making friends on it. And it took 5 months to fill my Overwatch friends list.
That's pretty impressive though. So you mentioned you were able to socialize without fear of any sort of prejudice or misunderstanding about your condition.
Yeah, so I my Tourette's wasn't diagnosed for most of my life. So I was doing all these things with no explanation, and people just thought I was weird. So it was really hard to take a train, take a bus, go to school, that sort of thing. So I ended up agoraphobic after a while, after enough misunderstandings and things. It just became impossible to function with no explanation. So I was really isolated for most of my life, and I only really came out into the world because of gaming and because of Twitch and, a few other things like volunteering, looking after animals and stuff. So that was where my life changed. And yeah, that's how I started streaming. I had no plans for it to get big, had no plans for it to turn into anything. It wasn't a career path. It was just me hanging out with my friends.
So you said that it wasn't diagnosed until later in life. When were you diagnosed?
27.
27. That is a long time to not have the understanding and support of a community to just know what is going on. That's astonishing. So whenever you thought to begin fundraising for Rise Against the Disorder, what made you select that particular charity?
Well, a lot of charities reach out to me. Normally because like for the handful of like charity streams I've done so far, they've been relatively successful. So a lot of people are like, hey, will you make money for me? Will you make money for me? Hello, this thing, this thing, this thing. And so it's become a little bit overwhelming how many things I've been invited to. But when one of the things that I've been doing just passively with my income from streaming is I had a therapist years and years ago that changed my life. And I felt really sad the day that I said, I don't need to come here anymore because she was just really cool and it was really awesome working with her. So when I was seeing her, I had no money. And there was this fund that, and I would pay what I could afford, and the rest was paid for by this fund so that I could get private therapy. And I walked out of that place like, if I can ever earn enough money to, I want to pay it back to that fund. When I finally earned enough from streaming to start paying into that fund, it didn't exist anymore. So I started it up again. I named it after one of my rabbits who passed, called Nudge, and it's the Nudge Fund, a little nudge helping people along the way, getting the help they need. And I was paying that into an account that me and my therapist made together, just privately, not charitably or anything. Like, I get taxed on it and everything. And I told my stream about it, and they wanted to contribute to it, so they'd tip saying Nudge Fund, Nudge Fund, and they'd contribute. My community helped me to buy lots and lots of sessions for people each month so that they could help people in need, so that she could change other people's lives. And the only trouble was that the more money we gave her, the more of a tax issue it became. So not all of that money was actually going to her, which was frustrating. But I couldn't register as a charity. So when Rad came and contacted me, they were doing everything I was doing on a small scale with the Nudge Fund, but on a global scale. And everything about it made me really excited, because it was a chance to make sure the maximum amount of money that my community gave was going to the cause itself. And I still contribute to the Nudge Fund privately, but now there's a way for my community to contribute to getting people therapy and help around the world, and to make the most out of their money and their contribution. So it just made a lot of sense. And when I first spoke to the guy who runs it, I was like really amazed by his story and really inspired by it. And it was something that I just couldn't resist being a part of. It's something that I'd been trying to set up on my own, with the Nudge Fund for quite a while, and it just made so much sense, and it helped to expand on what we wanted to achieve as a community.
So you've created a community that is very open and excited by doing charitable fundraising. What are some of the other causes that you've supported that you've really seen your community rally behind?
So we've done ones for cats protection. Uh, we've helped raise money for rainforest charities. We've done, I think, at least 4 different causes.
Did you survey or kind of get a sense from your community what the next thing would be, or do you say we're doing this and they come along for the ride?
Everything about my stream has just been me saying, I'm doing this. So for me, it was Make-A-Wish Foundation, Cats Protection, and Tourette's Action. Those were my top main ones before I did the RAD campaign. And for me, I will say exactly why these things matter to me. I'll say, I'm really passionate about this. I just want to make a difference. You can make a difference with me. And that's what the stream is about. And often when I say what I'm excited about, that's enough to get other people excited about it too. Because a lot of people just don't think about these sorts of things. And I feel like a big part of Twitch is that there are a lot of people who are lonely or don't have a lot of many social opportunities, don't get out much, don't do much, but they still want to feel connected. They still want to do good. They still feel invested in seeing a better world. So I feel like I'm just handing them opportunities to feel good about their day and what they've done with it and how they've spent their money. And, to give people who are at home, like maybe working and just listening to me in the background, a chance to do something important and special that day. And I think people love to rise to that because people want to feel good about themselves and they want to see a better world. So it's not difficult to encourage people to give and to support charities at all. It's one of the easiest things I've ever done.
I loved the variety of things that you did on Twitch with your community. I loved meeting your snail, Megatron.
Yeah,
Oh
she's
my,
pretty cool.
I don't think I've ever seen a snail that large. Absolutely incredible. You said that you care about animals. How did Megatron come into your life?
I have a friend and she gets people over their phobias, and that was her job. So she has like every kind of animal under the sun, and she'll get you over your phobia in one day, or it's free. And she made this big business out of like getting people who had arachnophobia to hold spiders and things like this. And she had these massive snails for that purpose. But during COVID, lockdown meant that nobody could come to her home and meet them anymore. So she had to shift work, which meant that she A, couldn't support such a large variety of animals anymore, and B, needed to downsize just because if she's going to dedicate herself to something else, she doesn't have time for them. So I ended up with giant stick insects and some snails.
Now you also put some freestyle rap in your stream for Rad. Is that something that you you usually do?
One of the things that people will pay the most for in the context of charity is humiliation. And I'm just terrible at rapping, and I'm just not into rapping, and I don't listen to rap at all. So when people go, "You're gonna rap," like they want to see me squirm and and be like really out of my comfort zone. And that's why like a lot of charity stuff is like I will take a bath in beans, or I will run all the way around this thing, or whatever, is because people want to see someone struggle and suffer weirdly whenever they want to give to a good cause. It brings out the sadist in people, which is hilarious. So that was the thinking behind it. Is just I thought of as many things as I could to do that people would want to see just because they like to see me squirm. And I'd say if I were to advise anyone doing a charity stream, I would say find something embarrassing. People will definitely pay to see you embarrass yourself.
No, absolutely. That's not an uncommon recommendation that we make as well. Uh,
Mm.
do you have a next charity event planned? I know you just got off of the one with Rise Above the Disorder, but is there anything else on the horizon?
Not at this minute. I want to raise significantly more for the rainforest. I found a really, really great charity that allows you to go online, select the squares of rainforest that you're buying for them, and you click and pay for it there. And then that little bit is the bit that you contributed to their wildlife reserves and their species preservation and that sort of thing, which is really cool.
That's
So
fascinating.
it is fascinating, and I'm really excited for that. And I've already worked with a plushie company, uh, Makeship, and I gave all of my proceeds from that collaboration to the Rainforest charity. And I really like it, and I want to raise more money for them. And that's probably who I'm going to do next, but I haven't planned a date. I think it's really good to make sure that you give communities time between campaigns, because a lot of people, if they know a campaign is coming, they'll save for it. They'll like put a little bit of money away each day or each week or whatever for that time so that they can actually contribute. And I think that that gives people a chance to contribute fairly and not impulsively and not pressure anyone in the moment and stuff, but also make a big difference. And so, knowing all of that, I probably will give it a rest for a little bit and then have a campaign later. Because my community as well gave like nearly 60K.
Yeah.
So, I think it'd be unreasonable to expect that every other week or whatever. So yeah, I'll give it a little bit of time and then I'll do some more stuff with charity, Rainforest Charity.
No, we definitely look forward to seeing that. You mentioned something earlier, and it's something that we know that a lot of our creators, especially creators who are on the rise and gaining popularity, charities and probably other industries, but specifically charities have a tendency to bombard creators in the Tiltify community with those requests. What would you suggest if the charities are listening right now? What would you suggest the best approach to garnering the support of a creator?
I find that I will overlook all charities that I don't immediately click with in some way or another. I'm more inclined to listen to a personal message that is just an email that doesn't look like it's been copied and pasted, doesn't feel like a flyer, doesn't have any bells and whistles. Just someone who watches my content, thinks that their charity specifically fits with my content. And I feel like sometimes that just isn't the case. They're just looking for money. They're not looking for people who can really passionately put forward the case for why the viewers should contribute and why the viewers should value what they're doing. And so I feel like because a lot of people who aren't neurotypical gravitate towards my stream because of my condition, a lot of mental health stuff comes up, and a lot of people are asking for help with social anxiety, depression, things like this. Any charity revolving around that is going to be something close to their heart specifically and something that they want to get involved in. Like, there are people who've asked me to participate in charities that I don't really have a lot of connection to as much as I care, and I'm really glad that the charity's out there. It's not something that perhaps my community would invest in as much. So, really knowing the audience and community, doing some research to find your content creators will really maximize the return. It will really maximize the investment, and it will really help to get people to hear your name, and remember your charity as well. Um, because if you can touch what matters to a community, basically. So yeah, I'd say do your research and don't copy and paste. Personalize your approach to that individual content creator.
I love that and appreciate that feedback. I think it's feedback that a lot of organizations do need to hear. Well,
Mm.
what is something that you save for yourself that you don't do on stream that kind of helps maybe anchor you or like help you relax? What's a hobby or an activity that you use to protect some of your mental health, especially when you're a person on camera as often as you are? What is something that you use that's just for yourself, if you don't mind sharing?
Wow. There are some games that I'd never play on stream just because they're not interesting. And it feels like some people would think it's a waste of time, especially if you don't have a lot of time. But I think it's important to take things that you would just enjoy for yourself, even if nobody ever watches you do it and nobody cares that you do it, and getting skilled at it won't matter to anyone. Remembering what it feels to do something that isn't to look good on stream or to be skilled on stream, I think is a really great way to remember who you are and what you care about. But I also spend a lot of time with my animals. I do volunteer work. I rehabilitate wild animals. I also go to the beach and collect sea glass. I have various little things that I love to do that, are just allow me to live life and not sit chained to my desk.
Right.
And I think that's really important. And it's something that often people forget because this is an industry that rewards burnout. It takes and doesn't really give a lot back, not in terms of well-being and health. And also, it's a kind of faux popularity because streaming is an incredibly lonely job. You're alone in a box with a screen. It takes a lot of time and effort and has a lot of offline work. So a lot of people who stream have no lives and don't have a lot of opportunities to make friends because once you get to a certain level of notoriety, fans are not friends.
Right.
They can be incredibly dangerous and demanding, and there are a lot of consequences. And a lot of people end up putting their guard up and not really knowing how to safely interact with people anymore. So I feel like having real friends IRL that don't have anything to do with streaming is so important. Remember your value beyond your notoriety and connect with people who don't care about it, because otherwise you end up with a lot of pressure to conform to what the majority wants you to be. And that's when you end up with eating disorders. That's when you end up with, playing games you hate for like 50 hours a week, it's ridiculous. So, yeah, I think that would be my main advice.
No, that's very insightful. So thank you for actually, I think, nailing that kind of interaction that folks have with who enter this industry. Thank you so much for your time. I think this is great. We wanted to make sure to acknowledge that we're grateful for the work that you do, and the community you've created is just absolutely lovely. If you
Thank
ever need anything, if you have any questions or feedback regarding Tiltify, please let me know.
Thank you so much. That's really sweet of you. And thanks for including me in this. It's really cool. Yeah, I better go. I've got to go clean my snail. It's her cleaning day. I have to shovel out all of her soil and go fill the garden with it and then give her new soil and a bath and some fresh banana. So,
That sounds
yeah.
lovely. All right. Well,
Yeah.
have an absolute lovely evening. Hopefully, we'll chat again soon.
Yeah, definitely. Catch you later.